welcome to Comics Unbagged, 2017, just into December now. I don't know if the previous viewers remember us at all, but we're back to kind of thank everyone at our little website on Facebook for reaching 1,000 likes. And we're hopefully looking to move forward in the upcoming year, 2018. Hopefully our good friend John, which is our new editor, will be able to come back and shoot some new episodes.
Put out content frequently for you guys.
As of right now, all you've been basically seeing is the Facebook site, which we try to post cool and awesome, unique pictures from different artists every single day.
Round the clock, memes, breaking news when we see it.
Anything really worth mentioning. But we definitely want to put out these podcasts moving forward. So
and we want to thank everyone who's joining us on this journey. Moving forward, everyone who's been liking our pictures, sharing our stuff, liking the page, showing support. Much love, guys.
It's actually been really cool because we've gotten it's now just reaching 1,000 likes, but we've only really honestly paid attention to it probably within the last 3 months.
Yeah, before we were around 100 when we stopped doing this the first time around.
Yeah. The past show, obviously we lost our editor, and other things came about to where we couldn't put any podcasts forward. Thankfully, all we need now is one camera, one microphone, and since it's just the two of us, it's a little easier. Obviously, you can tell we're shooting from a new location. We're shooting at Mythic Comics in Woodstock, Illinois. I don't know if you remember, James Hulstrichter used to be a regular guest on the show.
Joined us for our Image Comics podcast.
Later in the season, and he has actually opened his own shop in Woodstock, Illinois, and we couldn't deny shooting here.
And thanks for letting us use this location.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't think I've ever seen so many Star Wars toys and Marvel and DC toys in all my life, actually, in a comic store. Yeah. There's a lot here.
Oh, yeah.
Even when I go to conventions, I don't think they support the array of different models and kits that he has, and it's really cool. You need to stop in and check it out.
Good stuff.
Anything to say?
Well, just moving forward, I want to thank everyone for being with us, and it's good to talking about the good stuff.
You know, I would actually point out some individual names, but lately the names that have been liking the stuff most on the page have been foreign.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
I have.
In Taiwan language and in I don't know, man. I can't read that stuff. It's I didn't go to school for it. So, but thank you anyway. I mean, whoever you are, let us know if you learn English. If you appreciate the show. I know you like the site, so that's good enough. Anyway, moving forward.
All support is good support.
For sure. Well, anyway, the first thing I think we should touch on is something that's coming up extremely soon on the 15th of December. Everyone ready for The Last Jedi?
Of course. You seen all the trailers?
I have not seen all the trailers. I've seen 2 trailers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One was the first trailer that came out earlier in the year, and I've been kind of trying to, treat myself like a poor altar boy that gets whipped. I want to not know anything. I want to abuse myself until the movie comes out, so that I have that Christmas morning feeling where you step down the stairs, and I've totally forgotten that feeling. Being 38 years old, I don't even remember that feeling
Going
anymore.
Downstairs or Christmas?
Christmas morning. I don't know if you guys can relate to it, but anyway, I was kind of forced into seeing the second trailer because I went to see Justice League.
Oh yeah, I was there.
And we won't I'm not going to pull out that bag of worms yet. But any expectations of Star Wars?
I really am just like, I don't expect too much from these movies when I hear they're coming out now. I just try to like enjoy them. But if I had any like predictions, I have a feeling that we're gonna see like true balance finally brought to the Force, because ever since Vader was prophesied to bring balance to the Force, he just kind of like went super evil. Son took him out. That's not balance. I mean, the good guys won, the Jedi won, but that's still not equal.
Right.
Now you have Kylo, now you have Rey. You remove Snoke, you remove Luke. Hate to say it, don't hate me. But you remove the parents, and then you're going to have balance. So
That's interesting. That is an interesting way to look at it. Well, obviously it has some significance considering that that's the title of the movie.
yeah.
You know, so who knows if she's going to go to the dark side. Or, like, I've heard some pretty wild and read some pretty wild rumors online.
Do you have any big theories of like who her parents are, where she comes from, or who the hell Snoke
Dude, like
is?
I've read so many like online to the holy shit, like is this really gonna happen? I almost believe it. To like fuck off. Like there's no way that like she's the daughter of a Jawa. Like, oh yeah, her and Alec Guinness like screwed a Jawa and all of a sudden, you know, she's on Tatooine. Like no
Extra
way.
potency.
Like, yeah, I don't know what Jawas look like, but she doesn't have flashlight eyes, so. You know, it's like you said, I think that they're going to touch on the whole balance aspect pretty huge.
Yeah.
I have a feeling like those porg things have something to do with the Force
Yeah.
in some way or another.
You don't think they're just like token fuzzy creatures for the movie?
You know, at first I kind of did, because it seems like every trilogy needs to like push that aspect on us for some
Something
reason.
cute for the kids to latch onto.
You know, and it is Disney, and obviously like cutesy sells.
Yeah.
You know, puppies, kittens, and all that. You
Yeah.
know, and they have to attract children to the series somewhat. Like you got to like start your kids early on drugs.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, like
early.
18 and under, it's like candy and, you know, cuteness, and 18 and over, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
But I think hopefully the writers are smart enough to at least give it some significance to the storyline, so that like the adult watchers aren't just like Gungans, you know what I mean? Like want to choke the person in front of them. So obviously, I hope that that's what the case is. You know, then if it's not, then you know, like I won't be surprised. You know, because not like they haven't done that before.
Yeah.
But you know, I have a good feeling about it. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I think it'll be actually, hopefully, better than the first one.
I did like
which
all
I
the-
liked. But
Yeah. I like The Force Awakens a lot more after rewatching it than when we initially went and saw it in the theater.
Right.
But I did like, speaking of the porgs, all the memes that came from those. Like the scene from Alien with the chest burster, but it's like a porg.
Yeah, I got a feeling that like the internet's going to get crazy with it.
Yeah.
Do
Do not hold back.
But okay, so there's been a lot of like talk and like internet buzz about Justice League. What do you think about this whole thing?
In regards to what?
Just like the Rotten Tomatoes score, and like Kevin Smith recently talking about them releasing like the dark version.
Oh, like the Zack Snyder cut?
Yeah, supposedly there's a dark version.
Yeah.
That's like extended by half hour, 45 minutes, whatever the length is.
Well, yeah, I heard that Superman originally in his, like, well, spoilers if you haven't seen it, just kind of fast forward, but he originally wasn't supposed to, like, wake up so quick and snap out of his, like, coma phase where he was, like, kind of fighting the Justice League, and he was, like,
Right.
you know, you'd notice he didn't have the black suit with the gray symbol on it, which
Yeah,
was
exactly.
more tribute to the death of Superman, but still, that's what they were kind of going to go with.
And early shots of the movie, you saw Henry Cavill going to set in that suit.
Yeah.
So obviously they changed their minds somewhere pretty dramatically.
Yeah, I think it probably came out of so many people like looking at the DC movies and saying how dark they are. They didn't like them. It's almost like the fans kind of have them hostage at this point. If you don't make it happy enough for them, they're just
And
keep
that's
tearing
honestly
down.
that's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Like they're not Marvel movies. I actually like the fact that they're taking them, to that level.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like pushing their watchers to be like, hey, take us seriously, and if you don't like it, too bad.
Yeah.
But like,
You don't have to compare the two. Like you can like all of it.
I mean, I didn't see Thor. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah,
Thor.
I
haven't
thought
seen
it was
Thor
great.
yet.
That was great. It was
Okay.
funny, really good. They crossed over all the characters really organically. It was a well put together.
But I did hear that it was pretty much a comedy.
Yeah. Everyone. That if I had to like take off the like fanboy lenses and critique anything, is just like everyone had the same sense of humor, kind of the same like snap to their jokes.
Okay.
Being like how we both into stand up comedy as well. Like really appreciate comedy itself.
Right on.
It kind of started to sound like the same voice from multiple characters, and that was the only part that felt like it was kind of like.
Did it bend into cartoon level at any point?
In a fun way.
Okay.
But
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like, that comparison definitely needs to drop, and they need to let DC be what DC is.
Yeah.
If you're a DC reader, then something tells me that you're gonna like the movie in one way or in another. A lot of people I hear are actually complaining about the editing of the movie.
Oh, really?
And they're like, just like Batman and Superman, we're gonna wait till it comes out, and then we can get to see like the fully edited version of how it was supposed to be on the camera.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll wait and see like what happens with that.
Yeah. I would love to see a Snyder cut. That would be cool, just to see how it would be different.
Right. You would think that like if that's what the fans want to see, and that's like the overall expectation of the films, then they would just like put it out that way.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't trust enough in Snyder to give them that extra time or something, or maybe they're worried about releasing a 3-hour movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a length thing though.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, I enjoy I like the Watchmen, the 3-hour cut, the director's extended one. I like it.
Right.
If I have the time to sit down and watch it, it's great. Same with the Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition. That cut's awesome.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't mind sitting there if it's gonna all be that good.
Yeah, I just think like the internet's just a bit too critical, and there's a too far away gap for on social media in comparison to like these comic book movies, and the way that they're getting the rating from Rotten Tomatoes, I also think is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like to determine like a movie based off of that rating scale, and that's the only rating scale that really kind of counts.
Yeah.
It's like, who's running that fucking site?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not.
I mean, I'm not throwing anybody. I'm trying to throw anybody under the bus, but like, it's just silly to me. Like when I go look up like Uncle Buck versus like Aliens Part 2.
Yeah.
Like it's all on the same scale.
Yeah.
Like James,
fair.
Holsterger, who used to be on the show we mentioned earlier, he brought that up to me, and it was an excellent point. It's like, what are they doing?
Yeah, you can't put The Departed up against like Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
it's not gonna work.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, what?
And it's like that's why like Oscars never like. There's no comedies that ever win the Oscars.
Yeah, and plus with like the whole Ghostbusters thing, I mean, that's just not cool.
Oh, don't Don't
What do we
even
got
bring-
next on?
Don't even bring it up. Don't even bring it up. I like female comedies.
man.
That was
Speaking
atrocious.
of really good crossovers, they just did Crisis on Earth X on the CW shows. It was a 2-night event, so it didn't feel as dragged out, kind of as some of the past ones have. And none of them felt like, you know how the last one, the Arrow episode felt like an Arrow episode, the Flash episode felt like a Flash episode.
Sure.
This felt more like a 4-part miniseries to where it just kept rolling into the next.
Gotcha.
Rolling into the next. And it was so good. You had basically the setting for it was there's Earth X, which is the Earth, even in the comics, where what if the Second World War had never ended and Nazis are still basically like fighting, and in this version they're like the main superpower, and it
So does it mean like Earth 10, or are they just calling it Earth X?
No, Harrison Wells explains like out of all the 52 ones, they just decided to not count this one in that estimation because it's so vile no one would ever go there. So they just call it Earth X.
Interesting. Interesting, considering that was like, a Marvel title
Yeah.
for like a little while.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so did they put out like 2 episodes in the same night, or?
Yeah, it started with Supergirl and then Arrow, and what pretty much initiates it is in the Flash where they're at Barry and Iris are getting married. So they send out their wedding invitations to everyone from all the shows. So you're seeing
neat.
Supergirl gets it, Ollie gets it, the Legends get it, and it's pretty funny seeing like Heatwave and all these people like at that wedding.
Right, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really well done. Don't want to
Very
give
cool.
too much away, but I was really happy with it.
Interesting. Is there anything else on TV that's going on right now?
I just finally finished watching The Punisher.
Oh yeah, The Punisher on Netflix,
Yeah.
which I actually support. Like that's what I watch
Me too.
primarily.
Yeah.
I don't let the Comcast gods whip me in the back any more than they can. So I always watch like The Flash and all that stuff later.
Yeah.
But I did watch The Punisher,
Yeah.
and that was insanity.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. John Bernthal tears it apart.
Yeah, he added so much depth to the character. To anyone who's read miniseries or main series of The Punisher, you'll recognize names they're using. Just scenes feel the same way as when you
Yeah,
read
he
Punisher.
emotes through Frank really, really well. And, they're basically, from, what my friend Brian was telling me about it, it's almost like a spokes commercial for PTSD.
Yeah.
Like coming out of the war.
Yeah.
And
Really heavy theme.
that partnered with, the grueling, malicious murder of his family. Like you can imagine, like what a Punisher show is.
Yeah.
So, but it's actually like it actually has some very dramatic scenes.
It has some feel-good moments, though.
Yeah.
It has some, moments of pride, honor,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
hope.
There's plenty of like, hell yeah.
Yeah,
like you're waiting for Frank to just like do something and it finally happens.
Yeah.
It's definitely really, really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody hasn't seen it yet, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah. All the Netflix show, that's just so consistent.
Yeah, I actually recently heard that Marvel might be pulling away from Netflix and it won't be there too much longer.
That would be a bummer.
Or maybe that's not happening. I'm seeing off cue. They're telling me I'm wrong.
The only thing I've heard in regards to that particular area is that Disney's been talking with Fox again, and that next week they might actually have a deal made for the Fantastic Four and X-Men stuff. It's coming home. I don't want to jinx it, but it could be coming home.
I actually read today that they were like, Bryan Singer gets the boot off the X-Men franchise.
Speaking of Comcast, as they were also in the bidding war, but I heard it's going so good with Fox and Marvel that's kind of like they're getting pushed down, which is good. I mean, I'm not a Fantastic Four guy, but they should be back under the Marvel banner in these movies with like Spider-Man. I'd love to see like Marvel Fantastic Four with Human Torch and Spider-Man hanging out.
And honestly, like once you put the Fantastic Four family like in that same franchise, think about how many villains and how many heroes first appeared in Fantastic Four comics.
Yeah.
That they really weren't allowed to use because technically they were owned by Fox because Fantastic Four was owned by Fox.
Yeah, you could do so many more major Marvel storylines too, like the Skrulls. You could do the Super Skrull,
Oh, totally.
which would be pretty crazy.
That would be awesome, actually.
Secret Wars, all kinds of stuff.
Or like Mole Man. Like the Mole Man. Remember him? He
Bringing
was
it up. He still shows up from time to time. Oh, man.
They get, who do they? I don't know. I don't know
Doctor
even
Doom,
who
really
they would
though.
get.
Like that's what
Like some old dirty piece of shit to play him or something.
the biggest prospect for all that in me is, even though I'm not a Fantastic Four guy, I'm a Doctor Doom guy.
Yeah.
So I would
for
like
sure.
to see him finally done right, because
And definitely he's one of those villains that like he has cascaded definitely past Fantastic Four.
yeah,
You know, like he is a Spider-Man villain. He is an Avengers villain.
yeah,
He is a
with
Marvel villain.
Doctor Strange all the time.
Right.
I'd love to see Benedict Cumberbatch and someone who can play a good Doom interact with each other in costume. I'd be like,
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That guy's name always reminds me of like something you would eat on Thanksgiving.
it sounds dirty. Like, I don't want to say it.
It does kind of. He's an awesome actor though.
Amazing. Oh, he was in Thor as well, and he finally feels like legit Doctor Strange. Like how Superman finally started to fill those shoes of what we've read in the comics.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange was so like at will with his magic. in
Really?
Thor. It was just like,
That's pretty cool.
what is going on around me?
That's really cool.
It was
That's
awesome.
really cool to hear. Yeah, so we also got the new first trailer for the Infinity War.
Yeah, that was really sweet. I mean,
It was an amalgam of just a bunch of stuff hitting the screen at one time.
I feel like I know what they're doing with Thanos, and that's he kind of looks very flesh toned in that shot that's been going around in the memes people are doing.
Okay.
Where they put that face, that image on the guy from the pawn shop or whatever.
Yeah.
Only give you $20 for those Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is that shot's more in the sun, so it's not as deep purple as the shot when he was in Guardians, with the voice. that
Right,
was
on
talking
the
to
throne
Thor.
in space.
Yeah, talking to Ronan.
Yeah.
Because they had no light.
Yeah.
But even still, I kind of like that he would look like that in all lighting. It's not going to be a big deal for me, but it is kind of weird to see too much of Brolin when it's not super purple.
Right. Right. Although I don't think he can get that stacked at this point, but
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It looked cool. It was literally it was so fast paced and so quick
Yeah.
that I guess we'll wait to see. I think we're gonna get maybe another one on the Super Bowl commercials or something like that.
That would be cool.
They usually Marvel usually hops on their
Yeah.
bandwagon. So let's talk about comics a little bit.
All right.
Moving over from Marvel to DC, have you been collecting DC Metal?
Oh yeah, I've been getting all of the main book, all the tie-ins, all the one-shots. Metal Junkie. Can't
Yeah.
wait till that soundtrack comes out. I mean, what other comic book has been so badass that they wanted to do a soundtrack for it?
Someone gave Cameron some comic book cocaine 4 years ago, and he can't stop.
And not getting enough, man. Tony Montana.
Yeah, you've definitely increased your collecting output
Inhaled it
to the point where I think at one time I was at $40 or $50 a month, and you've well surpassed me at this point. I'm mostly getting my comic information from Cameron at this point.
I try to get as much as I can.
Yeah, but it's been that is one series I have picked up. It's been a really fun series.
Yeah.
I even have people that haven't collected comics in a really long time hitting me up hey, are you collecting metal?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's a series that's getting out people on the outside, and as Cameron mentioned, they literally have a soundtrack to the series.
Yeah, they're producing it right now.
And it totally makes sense because we know that Greg Capullo
And Scott Snyder.
Yeah.
When I remember seeing an interview online, it was an article where Snyder had said that they thought a Frank Frazetta Image meets like Megadeth, and that's like kind of the birth of Dark Knight's metal. It's
Right.
it's hardcore. It's one of those things too that maybe a lot of people it would shy them away from because it's a lot to grasp. But you really have to just kind of open yourself to it.
It is a lot to grasp, but it's one of those books that has like a lot to read in it, but there's so much art equal to all that that it balances out really well.
Yeah.
And it did not surprise me when I heard there was a soundtrack. I mean,
Yeah.
like whenever you see like Greg Capullo at like the comic conventions and stuff, he's a major Black Label Society fan. He's a major
Yeah.
metal guy. Like
Yeah.
he looks like a metal guy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, but like maybe a small synopsis for anybody that's not collecting metal. What would you say?
You have to think of the concept in the multiverse theory that any negative thought you have could spawn a potential universe or a world. So if you imagine a world where if I had the fear of, becoming a horrible person and that world existed, well, that world's not going to remain intact because it's just based off of my thoughts. So it's going to crumble away
Right.
in time. But what if someone took the worst of those thoughts, the worst insecurities, and plucked those out and promised them like a chance to live and take over the positive multiverse and create the darkness.
So it's not a part of DC's multiverse. It's basically like DC's version of the Upside Down.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much in the beginning leading up to it. You see Kendra Saunders, who is like Hawkgirl reincarnated,
Okay.
and she is with her military faction, and she takes a map of the multiverse, and she's like, this is the multiverse as you know it. This is the dark multiverse. And they're like, no, it's not. That's the back of the map. And she's like, no, this is an actual place. It's the dark multiverse. This is where all the nightmares that everyone thinks up exist, for whatever lifespan they have.
hmm
And that's where these evil Batman come from, because out of all of Batman's insecurities, his worst ones are what would he do if he felt he wanted to take the power that all of his companions have.
Like rule the world in essence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of these Batmen are very evil. They've defeated their Justice Leagues in the worlds they come from, and they're just, what if you took the governor off the guy? But it's also kind of like they couldn't exist without his insecurities.
Interesting. That's very cool, and it's moving forward, and I think they're already up to number 3, but
Yeah.
like halfway through the series.
Yeah, I think there's just
A little more because
more.
there's some tie-in stuff, and what I like about it is like all the amalgams of the different characters that they're coming out with.
Yeah.
Like the Red Death, like
Yeah.
Batman Flash, and
Yeah.
like the Batman who laughs, and like
Yeah.
dude, that guy is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And that like these are characters that even though metal probably will go away and it's gonna end and stuff. But things like that tend to hang around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If someone likes something enough, they're going to find an excuse to put it in another story.
Yeah, look at the Crime Syndicate from Earth 3. They come back every once in a while.
Exactly. So I think really good things are going to come out of this series. So.
And it has a lot of Easter eggs and homage to old stories, like for longtime readers, like the fact that Batman made Superman promise not to tell anyone, and he actually put the Anti-Monitor's tower in the Fortress of fucking Solitude, and that was like the battery they used to kind of open the portal to the dark, like all that
Interesting,
stuff. Like
interesting.
Dream was in there, from the Sandman stories.
Right.
All this stuff that not a lot of people know. Baby Darkseid, which was the result of the Darkseid War from the New 52 Justice League story, which was excellent. Just so
That's
much
cool.
stuff just peppered in there.
That's very cool. So kind of leaving that behind, it's obviously like highly suggested. I would check it out and read it. I'm having a blast reading it.
It's selling
But-
like crazy, too.
Yeah.
It's really popular right now.
But actually touching on the past a little bit more, what did you think about the Doomsday Clock #1 that dropped?
That was really good. It was a neat setup, and it has a lot to
Yeah,
to
there.
kinda
It looked like there was like
offer.
a devastating
I can't even
amount
talk
of
right
potential. Like, it's definitely a setup issue,
Yeah.
but it was one of those setup issues that you were like, I could see reading this literally directly after you were finished reading The Watchmen,
Yeah.
and it's an awesome continuation from what they've put out so far.
Yeah, you can tell they definitely did their homework, and it has the same tone right off the bat.
And obviously, the writers have respect for it.
Yeah.
The content.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think they want to pull all these insanely awesome Watchmen characters into the DC universe
Yeah.
without them still keeping that same level of respect. But do you think that like any of our heroes are going to come in contact with them, and like, do you think that there's going to be any fighting, or
Yeah,
what
I
do you
think
think's
so.
gonna happen?
I've been paying attention to a lot of the press and stuff on it. I know Jeff Johns said they didn't want to do it just to do it. He really felt inspired by it his last time reading The Watchmen. And you can tell the passion shows. I think that we're going to see eventual fight between Batman and this new Rorschach, whoever it is. I do kind of like the concept of like this new Rorschach, how he basically says like, someone should take that role. It's almost like that there should always be a Bat in Gotham. There should always be like a Rorschach in the world of the Watchmen.
Right, that was really cool to read. And it's like even if Batman like does have to like beat up Rorschach, at least it's not like the original Rorschach.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a win-win.
I do want to mention, since we are filming in Mythic Comics right now, Jim has like an insane amount of the black and white variant issues that are still
1157.
available. And I'm just going to touch on that because normally only comic steers, they only got so many of them. But he actually has quite a few left. I would honestly recommend jumping up here and getting one.
Yeah.
Because online they're going for anywhere from like $10 to $12 now. And like...
I think what's cool is you could see the line work a lot better because it's the black and white one.
Yeah. Supposedly you can only get that comic through 1157 release the night before.
Yeah.
And it's not usually here, give me that. Let me take a look at that.
Got the image right here.
Still got these that come with it. Too.
Yes. This is the you also get a cool little like a poster of
Yeah.
the black and white
Yeah,
cover.
it's just like that.
And you also get a Doomsday Clock button, which these are flying too.
Yeah, and this has like the Superman symbol on the top there for the classic Watchmen.
So
Kinda hard to see through the package, but
So the Watchmen black and white variant, cool poster, cool button
cool book.
for what, $6?
Yeah,
That's sick.
yeah.
So
And not to mention that
Great
this
deal.
is such a huge event because can you remember the last time they did a midnight release for a comic?
yeah,
Like,
I
it's gonna be a
don't.
12-issue event, so it's going all year round. It's gonna be huge.
And you know how big Watchmen was.
Yeah.
So like, I think as soon as this metal craze comes to a lull, and I think it's even going to surpass it.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
as soon as it goes into the second or third issue, I don't expect people to be
'Cause that's
letting it go by.
That's actually when Metal, I believe, is ending. Because Metal, I think, is done in February, if I looked at the schedule correctly. And this will only be into its third or fourth issue, I believe, at the time. So not even halfway done. So this is definitely going to be the main event book of the next year. And, hopefully it has a very long-lasting impact in the scope of DC Comics as a whole.
Yeah, because when you think about some of the characters in The Watchmen, a lot of them resemble characters from DC.
Yeah, it's actually because I'm reading Crisis on Infinite Earths right now. So while I'm reading that, because it's a big task to tackle,
Yeah.
I also have my DC Wiki app with me. And actually, Earth...
Which is highly suggested if you ever read Crisis on the Infinite Earth.
It helps a lot. I mean, like, it's lot
just
of the stuff I
convoluted.
know. Yeah, it helps kind of even everything, because it's like, I know that, but I don't get how they line up. But the app helps do that. But in relation to this, there is actually Earth 4, which has the primary characters that this actually derived from. When Alan Moore wanted to do it, he wanted to use Blue Beetle, And
Okay.
Instead, we got like Owlman.
So, original.
Yeah, the
Ted
giant-
Cord.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you got Captain Atom was supposed to represent Doctor Manhattan.
Okay, that makes sense.
The Question supposed to represent Rorschach.
That makes sense.
I cannot remember the girl's name, but the guy representation for Ozymandias was Judo Master.
Huh.
So they
Rorschach actually first appeared in a Question comic. That was his
Yeah.
first appearance.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what number I think, but it was at least like within like the first 10. I would
Yeah.
say.
And I guess the world was very similar to the world that is of Watchmen. If you go on the wiki and you look up Earth 4, it's actually like all of its aliases. Watchmen universe is one of them, even though it's not the same. It's just that when Alan Moore wanted to do it, he wanted to use those characters, and they said just make something up of your own. And they were so close to it that it's like might as well have been the same.
So do you think now that like these Watchmen characters are going to be pulled into our DC universe, that they're going to call Earth 4 home? Or do you think that it's going to be one of those things where it like kind of just overlaps it?
Yeah.
Or do you think that it's just going to be like, they're going to be pulled into
It
like,
could
our
work.
Earth?
It could work that it's Earth 4 if he rewrit everything, because
They
we
don't-
don't know how much he's played with stuff yet. The
They
end of
certainly
the-
don't have a problem with doing that.
Yeah. The end of the book gave me goosebumps, though, when Superman wakes up from that nightmare and he's floating off the bed. And
Yeah.
Lois is like, oh, come down, and he, like, floats down, and he's like, oh, I had a horrible nightmare of my mom and dad dying. And she's like, yeah, you were screaming and shook the whole building. He's like, I don't think I've ever had a nightmare before.
Right?
It's like, Superman shouldn't have nightmares. Like, if Superman's having a nightmare, we are fucked.
Yeah, that was pretty wild to know, like, for one to know that like he's never had a nightmare ever,
Yeah.
and then to now know that he did have one. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So I don't know. I wanted to keep it light. I don't want to touch on too much more stuff. I wanted to limit this to just a little bit to thank the fans again for the 1,000 likes, for staying with us even though we had to go off air for a long time. Again, I want to say thank you to Mythic Comics and the gym
Absolutely.
for letting me use this comic store. If you don't know where it is, it's really easy to find. It's in Woodstock, next to Offsides, Woodstock, Illinois. I don't know what the address is off the top of
You can
my
go to
head.
Mythic Comics on Facebook and get their address, their phone number, location.
Oh, here we go. Thank you, John. Business address 682 South Eastwood Drive, Woodstock, Illinois. So there you go. We'll let Black Panther put that right in his balls. There you
Looking
go.
forward to that movie. Not the Black Panther's balls, but the Black Panther itself.
Yeah. Looking forward to it for sure.
Say thanks to all the groups who've been supporting us, following us over, from the Horsemen of Superheroes, DCEU, Daily Planet, Detective Comics page, all that superheroes group.
So we're hoping that we're going to be able to do another podcast in January, and then maybe we'll see how it goes moving forward from there. But, as of right now, we just want to say thank you once again, and
Stay tuned to the page for more pictures, memes, news, all that good stuff, and the occasional podcast from two favorite bearded fat guys.
all right, thanks again. This has been Comics Unbagged.
Danny Humphrey, Cameron Kivett.